Ooh, that looks tasty.
Welcome folks, Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another game review, and today we are talking about Mythic Mischief from IV Games. Now this is a head-to-head or teams game where you're going to take on the role of a faction of magical, I'll say creatures, some of them are humans, so I guess those aren't creatures in the way we think of creatures, that are in the library after hours when they should not be, causing trouble. And basically, you're going to be going around collecting magic tomes and trying to get the other faction caught. And you're going to play the game either until someone gets to 10 points or until the tome master goes through and collects all 3 of these spots twice. And after all 3 are collected the first time, this one card here flips over, and then the after lunch card flips over. You get to do a little bit of a reset, and each of the factions will get one of the little bonus powers that they get to use after lunch only. Now, I'm not going to go super in-depth on how this works, but I do want to show you the rough idea of how things are going to work. Now, if you're not interested in how this game is played and just want to jump ahead to my final thoughts, then you want to go to the timestamp on the screen right now. Now, the first thing that I will say is each of the different factions operates significantly differently, though at their core, all of them have the ability to move. They all have the ability to move other mythics. Those are the factions, your mythics. You have the ability to move the bookcases around, and you have the ability to move the tome keeper, and then you have your own special power. Now, so what's going to happen is, on your turn, you're going to get to spend all of your action points. And so you might use it where I want to move 1. So I'd move the switch right here, 1, and I would pick up my tome, which I would then be able to later on use to boost these other skills so they get further and further up, which might unlock more of the various uses that I have for them. Then you have the ability to move other mythics. So in this case, let's just say that I moved 1 more right here, and I'm going to move this out of the way for a moment. And then I use my last movement to move to right here. And I move that because these actually cause double movement if you go on those. Then, if I wanted to use my move another mythic, I could move the one next to me because the witches have the ability to move mythics around them clockwise or counterclockwise. Now I'm going to rewind a little bit and say that when I stopped here, I'm going to use my manifest ability, knock that down 1, and that's going to allow me to move a bookcase. So this one, I can, because I'm a witch, I can move it from next to one witch next to any other witch on the board. And so we'll just say I will put it right here. And then I will finish my move, and I'll go here and move him right there. Now, the other thing that I have the ability to do is I can use the taunt right here, or the distract, I should say, which will cause the tome keeper to move 1 space towards one of my mythics. So again, I could use this one right here, and he would turn and he'd move, and the tome keeper would catch this one troll, and I would gain 1 point just like that. Now, I could also say for some reason I'd already used that ability. I could wait until the end of the turn. We'll pretend that I've done everything that I want to do. And you'll see that before lunch, the tome keeper is always going to move 4 spaces. And so he will move in the fastest path possible to get to the next number. So in this case, he would go 1, 2, 3, 4. And so again, he would be caught, and if it was on my turn, I would get that point. However, let's say I messed up, and I was there, and he moved, and he caught me, then I would actually lose a point. Then when he gets to the spot, he will pick it up, and then the next time he moves, he'll start making his way towards the other one, again taking the fastest route possible. And that's the game. Now, as I said, it's going to happen, there's going to be a little bit of a reset. As you pick up these tomes, you're going to get the ability to have more and more uses of these different actions, but really, that's the core. You are moving yourself around the board, you are moving your opponent around the board, you're moving these bookcases around to change the path, to influence the direction that the tome keeper is going to go, so it will catch the other players doing whatever it is that they're doing that the tome keeper doesn't like. You're probably touching their books, and that makes them very unhappy. Now, as I mentioned, each of the factions plays very, very differently. Now, the trolls, what they do is they have, instead of making you move clockwise or counterclockwise around them, they have the ability to drag. So you use drag, and literally you pull them along with you to another spot. While the witches have the ability to move these bookshelves all around the board. The trolls, when they do theirs, they simply smash the bookshelf and it goes away. And you are starting to get the idea that each of these factions is very different. And I'll point out that there are a whole bunch available. We have the witches, we have the trolls, we have the monsters, we have the wizards, we have the zombies, we have the vampires, and we have the ghosts. And so all of those different things leads to a bunch of different play styles. I will also say you can play the game in teams, 2-on-2 on this one board. You can add a second board and play a larger game. There is a solo mode as well. That's pretty much it. Knowing what you know now, you have the rough idea of how the game works. So what do I like about this game? The first thing I like is I love the different factions, the different abilities that they have. In general, if you know me, you know I love asymmetric factions in general. I love just the amount of replay that gives a game and how I can play against the exact same person, just swap out a faction, and boom, it is a completely different strategy. I think that is just really, really well done. And the reason I think it's particularly well done is because each faction, though they play drastically differently, to play them, you need to learn two things. Well, I guess 2.5 things, right? You have to learn the special ability, which is a very situational use thing, so there's the half, and then how the moving of your opponent's minis goes, and how moving the bookshelves goes, how that is different. That is all you have to learn. But just that makes your strategy completely different, and I think that is masterful the way that is done. I also like that the game is very quick. I've taught the game to several people now, and each different person I've taught it to, I've been able to teach the game in 20 minutes, a little more, a little less. It's just very quick to teach, and then even when you're playing the game, it's not that long as you're going through. The first time, there is a little bit of, well, how does this work? How do these things work? Not hard to figure out, not hard to pick up, just very, very clever. Additionally, it is a really good production. Everything about it is just great. It's got these really chunky miniatures. The Tome Keeper is just awesome. I love the Tome Keeper. It's just amazing. It looks good on the table, and all that's fantastic. Additionally, I like the way the action selection works. I like that you are moving these little mini dice out and then kind of taking them up and taking them down as you use them. But maybe you want to save one, in which case it'll stay where it is. You can do more next time. I like the way that as you pick up these tomes, you have a very hard choice to make of, do I want to use it for a recharge of my special ability, or do I want to permanently give myself a little bit of a boost? But of course, as you boost up those tracks, one space might not actually get you anything. It's just going to kind of save you a bit, as at the beginning of each turn, you get to kind of pop 2 dice 2 spaces over as you go. It's a very challenging decision every single time you have to make it, and I think that works very, very well as well. But the main thing that I enjoy is just the head-to-head challenge of it. When are you going to make a sacrifice where you're not going to get one of your tomes? When are you going to make that sacrifice that maybe you're going to put yourself in a position where you might get hit for 1, but you're going to be able to hit them for 3 or something like that? I think the ways that the game can be changed in some ways, which is, this is going to seem like it doesn't make any sense, but what it does is, because you can change the shape of the board so easily, what's going on and where the Tome Keeper is and where the other players is, it's almost impossible to get paralyzed with AP. I say almost, because we all know those people, but the people I've played with, you can't see everything. It is impossible to see everything, and so I haven't found that it happens. I have not had any games of this where somebody was just staring at the board trying to figure out all the possible permutations, because they're infinite. They're just infinite. You can't know what the other player is going to do because you don't know where they're going to move things around. You don't know where they're going to move. You don't know if you catch one of them exactly where they're going to pop back out on the board. All of that, I think, really makes for a game that is quick, that is engaging, that is challenging. And I'll also say the solo mode, it works pretty well. It's not one that I play a lot. There are other games like this that I'm more interested in playing solo, but it does work. It is a good challenge. It is a good puzzle. So what are my quibbles with the game? The first thing is, the theme is kind of there if you look for it. And most of the theme is coming through with just the bookshelves and things like that, and you're getting tomes and all of that. But it feels a little more like an abstract game than does a thematic game. And I enjoy it. It's there. I see the different factions, what they're doing, and some of their abilities, that it has that flavor to it, but I don't necessarily feel like I am a monster in a high school type thing. My next quibble is The only thing with the production, and now they were kind enough to send me the Headmaster's box, which has all the expansion in it. I was so excited about these glow-in-the-dark ghosts. The ghosts are going to glow in the dark. Not really. They don't glow very well. If you hit them with a black light, they pop. But not... it just doesn't work as I had hoped. That's a very, very minor quibble. And the only other quibble that I have with it is I do think that there is a bit of skill to this game. I mean, there's skills to most games, but I think if you play against someone that's played this game a lot, you're going to get waxed. Like, that is just how it's going to be. You're going to get waxed. You're not going to really have a chance to catch up. And that's okay, but just know that going in. If you're just kind of jumping in with somebody the first time and you're both playing together, you never played, it's going to be a very close match. But there is a learning curve to the game, and I think repeated plays, you are really rewarded, especially repeated plays with different factions, as you really are able to start seeing the puzzle faster and quicker and can start to predict how other factions are going to play. But really, that's it. I think this is a very clever two-player game. There are ways to play 3 and 4 players, and unfortunately, I just haven't gotten to do that. I've been holding on to this review for a long time in hopes that I get a 4-player game or a couple 4-player games, and it just hasn't happened, and I like this game, and I wanted to tell you that I like this game. So this is a game that I think is up there in the top tier of two-player games. I think it does a lot that is very clever. It does a lot of, it's a delight to look at, it's a delight to hold, and it has a good replay value to it, and it is a quick game, and it doesn't take up a ton of space. I don't know that I would take this to a coffee shop and play it there on one of those tiny little tables, but maybe a slightly bigger table? Maybe I would, because you can play it in that amount of time that you have. And so there you have it, folks. That is Mythic Mischief. As always, if I've made any mistakes in the rules overview, please let me know in the comments with the timestamp. This is one that I think if you're looking for an interesting asymmetric two-player game, then this is one that you really should check out, especially if you're into that theme. So, as always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.